let's pretend it's 1946 and a historian, let's call him Mr. Smith, decides to publish a history book of the Second World War where he claims Hitler was blonde. Anyone who questions that view, who asks, is this really the case, or presents evidence that says this isn't true, is trying to rewrite history and is therefore a revisionist historian. Does no one see the problem with this? If the first 50 historians that wrote books on the war got it wrong, are we not allowed to question them?
No, you're not allowed. You're just trying to rewrite history because you're a revisionist historian.
When someone uses the term revisionist historian as an accusation, what they're actually accusing the person of is historical negationism or denialism, which is someone trying to deliberately distort history.
This phrase, revisionist, leads people to conclude if you're revising history, you're distorting history.
But revising history is necessary. Let me give you some examples of how revising history has led to a growth of our understanding of the past. You may have heard of the term the Dark Ages, right? Well, this is a lie. They were dark if you read nothing but Latin, which is what most people did back in the day. But if you read any of the other native languages, you'd find that no, the Dark Ages weren't as dark as we once thought they were. A language barrier blocked our perception, our view of history, but doesn't anymore, to the point that the Dark Ages as a term is now being considered defunct. Julius Caesar, or Caesar as his name might actually be said, was born of Caesarean, right? Caesar, Caesarean, that's where the term comes from, right?
No, Caesareans in ancient times resulted in the death of the mother, but Caesar's mother lived through childbirth, so he couldn't have been born of Caesarean. The term most likely came from the Lex Caesarea, imperial law, which ordered doctors to perform a caesarean if the mother died. It's still disputed, but the point is, if you don't revise history, we would still believe the lie. All this boils down to is a fundamental misunderstanding of history and the job of a historian. The first historian says something happened one way. The next historian questions that and comes to a different conclusion. Then the next comes along and revises that, and so on. This is the historical process, the historiography. It is constantly changing, it is constantly evolving. History does not stand still, it is a debate. Even the dates change. Manstein deliberately changed the dates of the Stalingrad breakout attempt in his memoirs to put the blame on Paulus. So the early histories used Manstein's incorrect dates and came to the wrong conclusions. So yes, even the dates might change. An historian revises history. That's what they do. If they don't revise history, if they don't question things, they're doing a bad job. In fact, they're out of a job because this is what they're supposed to be doing. Finding more evidence or reinterpreting the evidence they already have to figure out the truth from the lies. If they're not doing that, what are they doing other than signing onto the unemployment register? A revisionist historian is what a historian is, but the term revisionist historian is used in a negative way by people accusing others of rewriting history for some sort of hidden agenda. And because the term revisionist implies you're not allowed to revise history, it leads people to the wrong conclusions, and therefore, for the greater historical good, the term should be changed or revised. Now, as I said, terms do exist for this type of historian, negationist or denialist, but they're a little bit unwieldy. So I'm going to propose a different term, one that already exists from 2006 as a noun on the website urbandictionary.com. It doesn't exist anywhere else as far as I can see, but I'm bringing it to life now. Distorian, a person who distorts rather than honestly reports history. The other points I don't agree with, but point one I do. So, revisionist historian is good,
Distorian is bad. The term distorian implies that you're distorting history. It implies that you're being dishonest. It implies that you're spreading disinformation. It also implies that you're not a true historian. You're a distorian. That's probably what you're aiming for those of you stuck in your ways when you use the term revisionist historian against people you don't agree with. But it doesn't imply that revising or rewriting history is wrong, which it isn't. History is constantly being rewritten, and that's a good thing. I think the fear people have is that rewriting history could distort history. If a historian doesn't use the sources correctly, or deliberately manipulates them to push his own agenda or view, then yes, they will lead you to the wrong conclusions, which is why you should read more than one book on a subject, and why historians need to use the sources correctly. But if you do use the sources correctly, in a balanced way, you can come to a deeper understanding of the events that you're looking at. You may even be able to answer the questions or the problems others couldn't answer because they were unwilling to question or revise history. So, go out there and revise history. And if someone doesn't like the fact that you are revising history, send them to this video so I can explain to them how wrong they are. Please check out my other videos. Look both ways when you cross the road. Don't believe everything you hear. Make haste slowly. The Bronze Age was the third best age in history. Don't trust atoms, they make everything up. I don't think you grasped the one about the red hot poker. Roses are red, violets are blue. In Soviet Russia, video ends you.